Canada's housing market. It can sometimes seem like the stuff of nightmares for anyone trying to buy their first home. Prices keep rising, and the dream of homeownership feels more like a fantasy. But now, the government says they've got a plan to fix it.
The federal government owns tons of land in cities and towns across the country. You could build a lot of homes on those lands, so that's what we're going to do. We're offering up that public land for housing. And we're not just going to sell it all to developers, we're going to long-term lease it.
The question is, will it really make a difference? They're planning to unlock land for housing development. Sounds great. So the idea, more land means more homes, and more homes should mean lower prices. Well, that's the theory, but before we start celebrating, let's take a closer look at what this could actually mean. So here's the thing. This isn't the first time we've heard about a grand plan to tackle the housing crisis. And while unlocking land might sound like a silver bullet, it's not that simple. Will this plan really bring house prices down, or is it just another promise that won't quite hit the mark? Stick around because in this video, we're breaking down what this plan could mean for you, the potential pitfalls, and whether it's enough to make a real dent in those sky-high housing costs. Okay, so let's break down why home prices have skyrocketed in Canada. It's not just about the cost of materials or labor to build a home. Those are factors, but the real culprit behind the ever-increasing prices, surprise, surprise, it's the land. When you buy a house, you're not just paying for the bricks, wood, and windows that make up the structure. You're also paying for the land it sits on. And here's the thing. The structure, the physical house, actually loses value over time because, like anything else, it ages and requires maintenance. The land does the exact opposite. Houses depreciate, just like cars do. They wear out, need repairs, and eventually, parts of them may even need to be replaced. But land is different. In cities, especially in places where land is limited like Toronto, the value of that land can increase dramatically over time. The demand for land pushes its price up, sometimes far beyond the actual value of the house sitting on it. This is why you might see a 50 to 100-year-old house in a city selling for multiple millions of dollars. It's not that the house itself is worth that much, it's that the land beneath it has become incredibly valuable. And here's the kicker. The land often appreciates at a much higher rate of appreciation than the house itself depreciates. So even though the house is aging and losing some of its value, the skyrocketing land prices keep the overall property values high. This imbalance is one of the main reasons why home prices continue to rise, even for older properties that need a ton of work. So let's put it into perspective. Imagine two houses, both built around the same time, both needing similar levels of maintenance. The house in a high demand city might sell for 10 times the price of the house in a rural area. Why? Because the land in the city is far more valuable. And that's the core of the issue. As long as land values keep rising at this pace, housing costs are going to stay high, no matter how much the physical house itself might be worth. That's why unlocking more land for housing development, like the Liberals are planning to do, could be a critical step in finally making homes more affordable. Sounds straightforward enough, but let's dig a little bit deeper. So according to the government, this plan involves making underutilized land across the country available for new housing projects, land that's been sitting idle, land that could be turned into something more useful like homes. They're aiming to increase the supply of homes by opening up these areas for development, with the hope that more land means more houses, and more houses mean lower prices. I mean, it's a simple enough equation on paper, but like most things, it's on paper and the devil's in the details. So it sounds super promising. Unlock more land, build more houses, bring down costs. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've seen big plans before that didn't quite live up to the hype. The question is, can this one actually deliver? The plan hinges on a few critical factors. First, there's the issue of which land is being unlocked. Is it land that can be quickly developed? Or are we talking about parcels that might require extensive infrastructure work before they're ready for new homes? Then there's the speed of development. Even if the land is unlocked, how fast can it actually be turned into housing that people can move into? And then let's not forget about the cost of this new housing. Just because there's more land doesn't automatically mean that the homes built on it will be affordable. If the development costs are high, that's going to be reflected in the price tag. So while the government's plan to unlock land could be a step in the right direction, it's by no means a silver bullet. There are a lot of moving parts, and it's going to take more than just access to land to solve this housing crisis. We've got to keep an eye on how this unfolds because the success of this plan will depend on whether all the pieces actually come together in a way that benefits everyday Canadians. And that's something we'll only see with time. All right. So we've talked about the plan to unlock land and the potential hurdles it faces. But let's take this a step further because it's not just about releasing land. The real challenge is what comes next. So here's the thing. Unlocking land is just one piece of the puzzle. If we're going to turn that land into viable, livable communities, the government absolutely has to work hand in hand with local levels of government. Why is that? Because without proper infrastructure, especially public transit in a large city like Toronto, these new developments could end up being more of a burden than a solution. So think about this. If these new housing areas aren't connected to efficient public transit, what do we get? More car dependent communities, more traffic congestion, and ultimately a less sustainable city. In a place like Toronto, where we're already dealing with gridlock, adding more car focused neighborhoods isn't just impractical, it's a recipe for an absolute disaster. This is why local collaboration is key. The federal government might be unlocking the land, but it's the city planners, transit authorities, and municipal governments that will determine whether these areas become thriving, accessible communities or just more urban sprawl. I mean, take a look at any successful neighborhood in Toronto, and you'll see how critical it is to have everything connected. We're talking about not just transit, but also schools, healthcare, parks, and shopping. These are the things that make a community livable. And if these elements aren't planned and executed properly, all that unlocked land won't do much to solve the housing crisis. We've all seen what happens when development outpaces infrastructure. Traffic nightmares, overburdened services, and really just a lower quality of life. I mean, just look at the traffic and transit nightmares currently in Liberty Village. If the government's plan is going to work, it has to prioritize public transit and integrated community planning from the get go. So, as we watch this plan unfold, the big question isn't just whether the land will be unlocked, it's whether all level of government will step up to ensure that these new communities are sustainable, connected, and built for the future, not just for more cars. This isn't the first time a government has tried to unlock land to solve the housing crisis. Take Germany, for instance. They've tackled the issue by upzoning, allowing more housing units to be built on land that was previously restricted to single family homes. It's a smart way to make better use of limited spaces in urban areas like Berlin. And then there's the UK, where the government's public land for housing programs releases surplus public land to developers. The goal? To speed up the creation of new homes in areas where people need them most. I mean, we can even look over to China's approach. It's also worth mentioning because they've been unlocking land specifically around transit hubs to build higher density compact cities. This not only increases housing supply, but also keeps urban sprawl in check by making sure new developments are connected to public transport. It's about creating communities that are both affordable and livable. So, I mean, these examples show that with the right strategy and collaboration, Unlocking land can work, but it takes careful planning and a focus on long term sustainability. So, could this government plan be the key to making homeownership a reality again? It just might be, but as already mentioned, the devil's in the details. So let's talk about it. What do you think? Could this plan work? Or is it just another empty promise? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this video with someone who needs to see it. And if you're into more content like this, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. So thanks for watching. Let's keep this conversation going and figure out how we can make this housing dream a reality for more Canadians.